What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Luke Cage Season 1, Episode 6, Suckas Need Bodyguards. Why does this feel like it's the end of the season? I'm kind of confused. I've never seen such a complete ending to a season, pretty much. Halfway through the season. I've never seen that happen before, where it's like 6 episodes in, the bad guy's already being put in jail. It feels like we've already lost some main characters that I didn't think we'd lose till later on in the season. And Luke Cage feels like, I'm done. Just, okay. Interesting. Interesting. So let's talk about this episode overall. First of all, we start off with a bit more of a, Claire-centered episode, I guess. Like last episode, I was talking about how she was in there, but she wasn't really connected to the main story. We've actually got her meeting Luke Cage at the beginning of this episode. Actually, before that may have been the scene with Scarf and Cottonmouth, but I'll get to that in a second. But that's pretty much a lot of what this episode centers around. Is she's talking to Luke, and it's almost like she wants to start helping him discover more about his powers, discover what he can do with them, and also help out with her medical expertise as well. And even on the episode ends on that sort of note, where it's like she wants to help him figure out what he can do, even though he's like, no, I'm done. I've done right by Pop. That's all I need to do. I'm done. I'm going to go back to doing nothing, pretty much. But as far as the main story for this episode, it is very much, Cottonmouth and Scarf meet at the beginning of the episode, and Scarf is trying to squeeze him for more money. Probably picked the worst guy to do that to of all the people that he could. So Cottonmouth fights him, shoots him in the gut, and now Scarf is pretty much on deathbed. I kind of figured this was going to be his last episode. Like, even whenever he makes it to Luke Cage's the barber shop, and Luke Cage and Claire are there, he starts talking about helping them get the information to take Cottonmouth down. For some reason, it just felt like this was it. The police have finally figured out he's dirty, he's working for Cottonmouth. It felt like this was his last episode, and I would say that's probably one of the few problems I have, is that it was very obvious to me that this was going to be it for him. It never felt like he was going to be able to come back from this and be a big character after this. I felt like this was going to be it for him. We learned about his son in this episode, which was very heartbreaking, by the way. So you leave your gun case unlocked and your son gets the gun and shoots himself, and that's how you lost your son. That sucks. That is awful. So it just felt like we were learning a lot about him, and it felt like all of it throughout the entire episode, as I'm learning this stuff about him, I'm just like, it doesn't feel like it's going to matter anymore, because this feels like the last time we're going to see him, at least unless we do flashbacks. But as far as present day, it felt like he wasn't going to make it out of this. So my suspicions turned out to be correct at the end of it. He doesn't make it, even though they finally managed to get to where they're trying to go. They didn't really make it in time for him to be saved. Some Cottonmouth's guys end up putting him on a detour. So that, I would say, that was kind of sad, to lose a character like that. We're halfway through the season, and honestly, at the beginning of the season, it felt like Scarf was going to be a major player, especially after he found out he was working for Cottonmouth. It felt like he was going to be a bigger part of this season. It was going to be more of, Night is figuring out stuff slowly, but for some reason her investigation keeps getting hindered, and we know Scarf is the one hindering her investigation, but now that he's gone, I don't really know what they're going to do with that, what they're going to do with her in general. Especially because the other cop that she ends up getting paired with for this episode also works for Cottonmouth, which she figures out about halfway through. I don't really know what to expect from her character anymore. I don't know what she's going to be doing from now on. But, it's interesting to see that we've already got some emotional character development in this one with her losing her partner. Just throughout the entire episode, not believing that he could possibly be a part of this. It was kind of sad seeing that she cared that much for him, that he had done so much for her, that she trusted him 100%. So everybody's got all of this evidence that shows he is a criminal, and she just doesn't want to believe any of it because that's not who she knows. That's not the guy that she met. And who knows? Maybe when she first met him, he wasn't working for Cottonmouth. Maybe he only started working a couple years ago because he needed the money, and that's the only reason why he's involved in all of this. Who knows? Maybe he really is deep down a good guy. We'll never know. But it was sad to see her go through that in this episode. On top of that, the other storyline going on is Mariah is getting an interview at her house with the media, which you could tell from the very beginning, like, they've set her up to be kind of the smart one between her and Cornell, like, well, Cottonmouth. He seems like he's a bit more of I'm going to go with my head, like whatever, if he's really angry, he doesn't think things through, he just rushes into situations, like, Luke Cage steals all of his money. He finds out where Luke Cage is. I'm going to go in with a rocket launcher. Like, not even thinking that that's a bad idea at all. He's just like, oh, this seems like a good idea. Shoots the whole building and blows it up. Mariah seems more like the thinker. She seems like the one that she's trying to think logically, trying to think 3 steps ahead. So it was kind of bizarre to me that she would actually allow this interview, knowing that the media loves to twist stories, and knowing that Cottonmouth is under a lot of media speculation right now. Like, it just feels like she should suspect that these people might possibly try to twist the truth. Well, not actually to tell the truth, but try to make it more of an interview that shows her as a bad person. Why wouldn't she suspect that? I don't know. That would be one of the first things. If I were in her position, if there was a camera crew wanting to come into my house, and I'm a politician, and I've got a cousin that is doing illegal stuff all the time, and that's the talk of the town right now, I would not let any media into my house at that point. Like, I would be 100% on guard. I'd be like, okay, no interview today. If you want to do an interview, just come to one of my press conferences, but you're not coming into my house. So I thought that was bizarre that she was just so shocked whenever they started turning it around on her, like, oh, what about your grandmother? She was a criminal. What about your cousin? He's a criminal. So anyway, that was bizarre to me. But most of the episode did focus on Claire, Luke trying to get Scarf to the... I think they're trying to get him to the courthouse with the information that he gave them. And so ultimately when it ends, they still have the information, but they don't have Scarf anymore. Some of the stuff going on was fairly interesting. Like they had a little mini car chase with one of Cottonmouth's group of guys, and then Luke's quick thinking gets him into an alleyway, punches a hole in the side of the van, and escapes through into the building beside them, which causes the guys to have to follow them through there. Luke blocks all the bullets, so they start shooting and go beat up the guys, and then Claire takes Scarf outside just as the other guy that stayed behind is driving a van, sees them in the alleyway, and goes to drive to hit him. Luke shows up just in the nick of time and does pretty freaking awesome. He just blocks the car. I wish we could have actually seen it, because what we saw was the guy in the van sees them in the alleyway. We see the camera like getting closer, like he's driving, about to hit them. Then we see Claire like flinch, and we hear a crash, and it pans around, and we see Luke has blocked the car, and it looks awesome the way it's shot. But I do kind of wish that we could have actually seen Luke getting hit by the car, and the car just kind of crumpling. I wish we could have actually seen that happening, but as it is, it was still pretty awesome, still badass. I think I'm still kind of confused about how it ended. Maybe the next episode will help clarify. But all of this stuff is going on, like Scarf dies, Misty, Night. I still gotta figure out if I want to call her Misty or Night. Either way, it's kind of a cheesy name. I'm gonna call her Misty. Misty is very upset about it. We've got kind of everything going on. You've got Cottonmouth being arrested, as Misty is there to watch him be a takeaway. You've got Mariah at her house as the camera crew is still leaving, and then the reporter comes back in with news that Cottonmouth has been arrested. Like, what do you have to say about this? And she gets security to get him out of the house. And then the final scene is between Luke and Claire as they're talking about his powers, talking about how he's done, that type of thing. And then we cut to the police station after all of that is said and done. And Misty is sitting at her desk, looking kind of solemn. And there's some guys talking in a room across the hall. The captain comes into the doorway and starts talking to her about the the only way that we can tie all this case together is through a dirty cop who's now dead. And Misty's just like, I can tie it all together. She's like, you're sitting on the wrong side of the glass for that. So it makes it sound like the guys in the room are actually talking about this case and whether or not they're going to actually take it to trial and try to get him indicted and convicted and all that stuff. I can't tell if she's saying that because he's a prominent politician, cousin, and has a lot of money. I don't know if she's saying that they're going to sweep it under the rug, or if she's saying that this is a big deal because she talks about Fisk, who was put in prison because he was a prominent person in the community and had a lot of money, and then they ended up putting him in jail. And so kind of a similar situation, Cottonmouth, prominent person in the community, a lot of money, and now he's being put in jail. I don't know if she's comparing it because that's a big thing for them, or if she's saying because he has a lot of money he's not going to go to jail. I don't really know. It felt very vague, the wording that she used. So maybe next episode will explain a bit better what she meant by that. Obviously, if Cottonmouth is still in jail, we'll see that. And if he's being released, we'll see that. So maybe I just got lost for a second. Maybe it's because I'm kind of tired and I got confused. But it seemed very vague to me what they were trying to say about Cottonmouth right there. But overall, the episode was a good one. A lot of good action in it. It felt like the story is moving along very smoothly. And it's very interesting to see that, kind of like what they did in Daredevil Season 2, the first 4 or 5 episodes were solely about the Punisher. And that was it. And after that ended, it felt like the story had ended. It felt like it was over. And then Elektra comes in, and now all of a sudden we've got even bigger storyline popping up. I wonder if it's going to be the same thing here, where it feels like, okay, well now it feels like this Cottonmouth storyline is over. Well, we've still got Diamondback, I think is the name of the... I think it's Diamondback, the people that Shades works for. We've still got them in the background as well. So maybe now the story of Diamondback will start to come in, and now we'll get an even larger story on the bigger scale that Luke Cage is going to have to be up against. Hopefully it gets even more grand and epic from here, because right now, even though it really works for this show, it's felt very small-sided, very localized. It's just Harlem, whereas Fisk, and then in the second season, I can't remember the name of the group that Daredevil was fighting against, but both of those felt like they were on a bigger scale. Fisk felt like he was going after most of New York, and then obviously the other one, they were looking at the world more like it. Jessica Jones, it felt very personal for her, but it also was it was much more in-depth into people's psyche and stuff like that. It was not like an open world type thing. Luke Cage feels like this is something that might actually happen aside from the superhuman aspect of Luke Cage. This feels like something that could actually happen right now, in that there's a guy who, his cousin is a politician, he's got a lot of money, he owns this club, and he's just trying to run drugs and guns. It feels like that could actually happen right now in our world. So, I don't know, it feels very small and personal and localized. Maybe now it's going to grow a bit more and feel a bit more grand. Or they could just keep it personal. Either way, I'm looking forward to what they're about to do. They're handling it very well so far, so looking forward to the next episode. I'm trying to power through and get through quite a few of these as possible, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can discuss it. Leave a like and subscribe for future Luke Cage reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.